Welcome to the Torque and Horsepower Podcast. I'm your co-host, Eric Herbert, owner of Herbert Performance Company in Reno, Nevada.
And I'm Alex Stursa, owner of DBM Equipment Repair in Fernley, Nevada. And we have a guest today.
Special guest today is Ray Black, Raymond P. Black. He's the owner of Ray's Hair Care, Tire Care, and Horseshoe Center. Oh, no, barbecue. I left out barbecue.
You did, and toothpick. Yeah, Special K
Hair Care and
toothpicks.
Toothpick.
Hair Care and Tire Center. Yeah. Actually retired. That's the
retired.
best job you can have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You should all be working to get that position. So
Yeah, agree.
I highly recommend it.
He likes every day is a Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Friday. That's good. Then you can go to cocktails on Friday.
Oh, that's
That's
right.
true.
That's right.
Yeah.
We have cocktails on Saturday.
Or Sunday or Monday or Tuesday.
Well, whatever day you want, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Because you're retired.
So, Ray, where were you born? Where did you grow up?
Where was I born? I was born in Altus, Oklahoma in 1946. We lived in Oklahoma till I was about 7, and we moved to Nevada. My dad was farming in Oklahoma, and I guess I really don't remember, but had some tough years, I think. And so he needed a job, and so he came to Nevada with a friend of his, and they were coming by the turnoff. They were going to Hawthorne, actually, to go to Babbitt to the Navy base there at Hawthorne to see if they could get a job. And they were going by the turnoff to Gabbs, and this friend of my dad's said, "You know, I've heard you can always get a job up there at that mine." And so they turned off and went up there, and sure enough, they got a job. And so we stayed there till after I grew up, right before I went in the Army. But that's where I was born, and that's where I grew up at. Went in the Army, come out of the Army in a couple of years. Fortunately, made it out. Was in a rough time during Vietnam, so I was one of the few that got to go to Germany and made it back okay. Went to college a year in there. They asked me not to come back. I had a good time, though. Had a good time. Not necessarily am I proud of that. But anyway, went in the Army for a couple of years and came home and went to work for International Harvester Company. Actually, my first job when I got back in Reno, there wasn't many jobs in Reno, and this was in 1968. I went to work for a company called Armanco's Office Supply on South Virginia Street. They were about 2 doors down from the Cal Neva, if you can believe that, on Virginia Street. And there was a lot of stores in there at that time. And went to work for them delivering office furniture. And I don't highly recommend that job. Those big old oak desks, I tell you what, they are tough sledding. And,
Make your babies be born bald.
Boy, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And there's always electric doors you got to try to rush through with a 1,000-pound desk and not screw it up. But anyway, I worked for them for a couple, 3 months. I had a friend that worked at International, and he said, "Come down, we're looking for a guy." And I went down, and they hired me and worked in the parts department. Had a heck of a good indoctrination. They said, "There's the phone, there's the parts books. I got to go," and
Figure it out.
and they figure it out, and that's what they did. So anyway, I worked for International Harvester themselves for about 13, almost 14 years, and they got in financial difficulties. I don't know if you guys remember that, but they about went bankrupt and went out of business. And they sold all their company stores to individuals.
Right.
And so they sold this one here, and I went with it. And stayed there for about 7 years, something like that. And went to work for a company called Fleet Pride. That was the name for them. I opened it up here in 1993, or was with them when they opened it up in 93, and went there till I retired. So almost 45 years in the parts business, truck parts business. Yeah. It was good to me, though. It was tough business, but I made a good, decent living out of it, and no regrets. No regrets.
You started that business with parts business with Microfiche, and ended it with Microsoft.
That's exactly right. That's funny you mentioned that. We thought when we got Microfiche, we thought I was listening to you guys a while ago and about talking about computers and stuff. We thought that Microfiche would be the greatest thing since sliced bread, and it was just horrible. Just horrible.
I remember my dad working at Cashman back in, I was a little kid, so probably, I don't know, 5 to 8, something like that. So it was in the mid 90s, and they had Microfiche at Cashman. And anytime you go up to the parts counter, they'd pull that thing up and put it on there, and then it'd project it. And I was like, look at this fucking shit. Like, this is cool.
How do you print it that small?
Yeah.
The best one we ever had, we got it was called a Microfiche. I can't remember what it was called. Anyway, it was on like an 8-track tape setup.
Oh, it was like a reel-to-reel 8-fish.
Yeah, only thing it was all just in one deal, and you put it in there, and then you could just go up and down and go back and forth on the tape. And it wasn't too bad, but it wasn't a cure-all for everything. I guarantee you that. And the reason why they did it is because it's so much easier to update a tape or make a new Microfiche or whatever, and just send it out to everybody
instead of sending new books out to everybody.
I mean, because you'd either have to have a new book, and boy, they were expensive, or they'd have additions to them, or they'd have additions to pages, and you'd have to go through a parts book and put into individual pages. And sure as hell, if you left one out, it would be the first thing that you couldn't figure out, and it was in that page there. So you always had problems with that. But it was quite a little deal. And then we got a computer. I can't remember the exact year. We got a computer just for invoicing and things like that, though. I think it was in the mid '80s, somewhere along in there, and it was horrible too. Horrible.
Triad, monochrome.
ADP is who this one was.
Dot matrix.
Yeah.
Made 3 copies. Couldn't read the third one.
Yeah.
They sold us this computer, which your home computer, your telephone probably has got more memory and everything in this computer. And they said you'll never need anything for this size of business. You'll never need anything any bigger. Well, it was about big enough for about the first 2 months, I think.
Right.
And then we were screwed up for sure, but nonetheless. But yeah, they went through that, and it was tough. And then I was in the early '90s, I think, before I ever got to anything. And actually, by then I was working for Fleet Pride, and they were then it was called Vantage Parts, but we were on a Freightliner. We were Freightliner dealers actually, and they had a computer system, and it was pretty slick. They've really come a long way with computers and parts guys. I tell you what, you can learn how to be a parts guy in about 12 minutes. It looks to me like. I mean, you put in the serial number and it pops up whatever that truck was built with, and that's pretty much the end of it. So I get so frustrated when I go to a parts store and I flop a part up there on the counter and say I need one of these, and they go, "You got the serial number?" And I go, "No, I don't have the serial number." Especially when I had a sand rail.
Can you just get the part number off the filter?
Well, that's what I said.
So I brought it in.
This guy did that to me right down here. He said, "You got serial number?" "No." "What's it off of?" "I don't know." And I didn't.
Yeah.
He said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "Well, maybe you ought to look at the part number right there on the filter." And he said, "Oh, yeah." Punches it in a computer. He said, "Oh, well, I got 3 of those." I mean, you just want to go.
And that part number fits like 470 cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite is the memes that go around. It's like the O'Reilly's guy that's like, you're like, "I need windshield wipers for a 2007 Chevy 1500. Diesel or gas?" It's like, well, I don't care, man. Just fucking throw it on there.
Is it a different wiper?
Yeah.
It's the same fucking windshield.
Yeah.
I have to tell you though, the little story that in the early '60s, obviously they came out with a Scout. The original Scouts, they were Scout 80. The original ones had sliding
wipers?
door glass in them.
Oh boy.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know, they had it maybe a year or two. I don't remember exactly how long, a year or two. They had sliding glass. And then they went to roll up doors.
Right.
So a guy come in saying, I need a, this one, when I didn't know a lot of part numbers by heart, guy'd come in and say, I need a door handle for a Scout, a window crank. Okay, is it sliding? Is it sliding or roll up? Because in the book, if you're going down the book, it says
Right.
sliding door or a sliding window, roll up window, and you're reading them as you go along. So you'd catch yourself doing stupid crap like that all the time.
Right.
So, but it happens.
How many part numbers do you think you know by heart?
A gazillion. Boy, you just don't lose them.
Give me a Ford oil filter.
Well, Ford and an International one were the same, and it was a 918 266 R91.
All right. So you just passed the dementia test.
Yeah.
Don't have dementia. Do you remember your home phone number?
I know my one now. I don't know that. Couldn't tell you any other home phone numbers. But
You still have a landline at your house, right?
I do, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, it just went sideways the other day.
The fax wouldn't come through.
Really screwed my dial-up.
Yeah. Pass the dementia test again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny you mentioned that. I for the odd reasons, I'll look at something and something clicks in my head and I go, oh, that's part number such and such, or I'll see something on TV and
Right.
they'll be talking about rear ends or whatever, and I go, well, I know what that suspension is, and and it just you sell so many of them, they're in your head.
Right.
I can remember one time when I first started to work, and I mean, boy, you just get so much stuff jammed at you in a hurry. Any shop is going 100 miles an hour.
Right.
And we had to start out working on the back counter, and of course, and rightfully so, they wanted everything right now, quick as you can get it. And I mean, it was a rough situation when you didn't know much, and and I was learning part numbers. And I can remember one time, and my wife now, we were sitting on the couch and I was laying down and had my head in her lap and I dozed off. And I woke up and I can remember part numbers running through my head. I mean, it was, I'm going, holy cow, I don't know if this is going to work for me or not.
Like, honey, are we doing a whole engine overhaul, or are we just doing the top end?
Yeah.
Do you need an oil pan gasket with that?
I talk about I tell this story a lot too because it's really funny. Or to me, I started at International, like I said, and grew up in Gabbs, and in Gabbs we didn't have a parts store.
Right.
I mean, you didn't.
Gabb's a long way from nowhere.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And when something broke, you cobbled some crap together and made it work. And if you needed parts, hell, you didn't go to Reno or Fallon very often. So I mean, it might be 2 or 3 days. So we just did with what we had.
Right.
So I probably worked at International, I don't know, very few days. And this guy, never forget his name, was Roy Close. He come to the back counter and said, I need a thermostat gasket for 392. And I said, a what? He said, I need a gasket for a 392. I said, you're kidding me, aren't you? He said, no, why? I said, you can get a gasket for one of them? He said, well, yes. He said, I'll show you. And he goes over, we had a big drawers of gaskets. And of course, I mean, he knew what it looked like. Picked it up. He said, right here it is. And I said, well, I'll be darned. I said, I can't believe you do that. I thought you banged them out of a paper sack.
A little ball peen.
Yeah, we never. That's the honest to goodness truth. Never bought a gasket in my life.
Yeah.
Banged them all out on a paper sack and a
Yep.
ball peen hammer. That's
Yeah.
just the way you did it. So I had a lot to learn when I went to work there. Had a guy come in and wanted a pogo stick one time. I said, now don't shit me. Like, come on, give me a break. I'm past that. No, I need a pogo stick. Don't, come on, give me a break. I need a pogo stick. Well, come to find out, a pogo stick is a hose tender
Right.
that goes on the back of your truck that holds up the electrical lines,
Yep.
the air lines. So, a lot of terminology.
A lot of terminology, yeah.
So that's at any rate, that's pretty much my working career right there.
So it was
Also-
Gab's Army, Germany, Reno.
Mm-hmm.
When did you get into horses?
I always liked them. Always wanted to be around them, and never ever hardly had the opportunity for whatever reason. We didn't have a lot of money. My family couldn't afford a horse. Just the way it was. But I had some friends that had a ranch, about halfway between Gabbs and Austin, and they wintered their cattle over in Gabbs Valley there, and so I used to help them and ride their horses, and buckaroo a little bit. So that was kind of my first taste of it, and then when I moved to Reno here, I met a guy. He was a parts runner for Nevada Wholesale Lumber, and him and I became friends. And he team roped, and I always wanted to get into horses, and he kind of gave me the avenue to get in. So wasn't long before I bought a horse. That was a collision waiting to happen.
Right.
Nonetheless, and again, I was in the situation where I couldn't afford to rope that much. It was pretty expensive to team rope. And so after my kids all grew up and got out of the house and everything, then, I went pretty hard for about 15 years. I went every weekend. I mean, I was going somewhere, and had a great time at it. Just got to a point one time, and I've regretted it ever since. I just got to a point where and there's some outside problems going on, but I got to a point where I just didn't want to do it anymore. So I give it up. And
By the way, Ray Ray's email is roping2foot@aol.com.
not AOL.
Oh, no.
I'm past AOL.
What is it now?
Yahoo.
Yeah.
Yahoo.com. So there's a funny horse story I want to ask you about. I heard you had a horse in the backyard and seen the area, and heard that you were out of town with your wife, and your son or sons may have or may not have had a party at your house. So when you came home, the horse was
Deceased? Is that what we're going for?
Did that happen kind of in that way?
No, not really.
Oh.
Now, having a party when we were gone, I'm sure that took place.
Right.
You saw the body filler in all the doors?
Yeah. Geez, it's amazing what you learn about your kids when you grow up, and I'm very, very fortunate that I have a really good relationship with all three of my kids, and we spend a lot of time together.
I've never met anybody like Bart Black. He's one of my favorite human beings just because you never know what the fuck is about to happen. I love it. I was like, God damn.
That's true.
He's a rolling party.
He is, yeah. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. I love it.
But I have a really good relationship with them, so they tell me a lot now of what went on when they were growing up. God, it's scary. It is scary, but they're all good kids. They've all been very successful and just good people, I think. Anyway,
Absolutely.
I forgot where. You're talking about the dead horse. I was having a little bad run in my life about that point. I had a Chevrolet pickup, had a 454 in it, biggest piece of crap ever owned.
That's weird.
Got about 8 miles a gallon if you watched it closely.
That still passes his V10 Ford by 2 miles.
Anyway, I bought this pickup, and my wife and Bart and Casey had gone to Arizona. I don't remember the circumstances. Anyway, they were in Arizona, and they were coming back from Tucson or from Cochise, Arizona, back to Phoenix. Well, the pickup blows up, and in the middle of the desert out there. So I don't know how I got on this story, but at any rate, so Bart, he hitchhikes. And,
Of course he does. Of course, Bart.
I don't know how he's probably 11, maybe 12. I don't know.
Right.
He hitchhikes somewhere and gets somebody to come pick the pickup up and take my wife and daughter. I had a nephew that lived in Tucson, so they went there. Anyway, this pickup blows up. I forgot. I now remember where I was headed with the story. They had the pickup blow up, and the guy says, need to put a new engine in it. I said, okay. So I buy a new engine, and they're stuck there for a couple of weeks. So they finally get home with the pickup. Right before, I got to go back. Right before that, I had a heart attack. Got past the heart attack all right. The pickup blows up. One morning I step outside and I look down and my horse is laying there deader than a doornail in the corral. I went, things are not really going very well for me.
It's not looking up this week.
And I love this horse too. Name was Rooster. And old Rooster's laying out there deader than heck. So my friend Kenny, I call him and I said, Kenny, I said, I got Rooster's out here dead. I said, what am I gonna do? He said, and I'll be honest with you, I was pretty emotional. I'm a pretty emotional guy, and I was it too. I love that old horse. So he said, you just go to work, I'll take care of it. So he had a friend who had a backhoe. So he calls him and he brings the backhoe down and they dig a hole and Rooster's buried out in the backyard. So which is where he should be. Had my neighbor call one day, he was a barber, and I was getting my haircut from him. He said, one of our neighbors, he said, was looking out his window, 2-story window. He said, do you have a horse buried in your backyard? I said, yeah, I might have one back there. He said, well, yeah. He said, he asked me about it. He said he was looking out his window and happened to see a guy out there with a backhoe digging a hole. Yeah, that's where he's at, all right. So anyway, that was a little rough period there where my pickup died, I had a heart attack, and my horse died.
God damn it. Those are roughly.
all in a pretty short period of time. So, but I got past all of them. So
Well, that's good.
You'll meet Braun. We'll bring Bronson on one of these days. The Hammer knows him, but Braun and I were fucking shit faced in this bar in Winnemucca at Winters. We're playing blackjack one night, and there's old boy sits down with us. He's probably mid-70s, something like that. And the cocktail waitress comes up and says, what do you guys want to drink? Braun ordered a beer, I ordered a beer, and Braun looks at the old guy and he goes, he'll have a sarsaparilla. And so the old boy don't skip a beat. He takes his fucking root beer, whatever, he looks at us and he goes, you two team ropers? And Braun and I look at each other, no, we don't team rope. He goes, huh, weird. And we go, why? He goes, well, team rope was pretty queer, and used to look pretty queer to me. It's the funniest shit I've ever seen. It was hilarious. And he just takes his root beer, gets up, leaves the blackjack table, and walks off.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
there's some buckaroos in
there is. They're absolutely that.
They are buckaroos.
Yeah.
They're not,
Because with you saying you're from Gabbs, my sister lived in Gabbs for a long time, and Gabbs is a long ways from anywhere.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful place.
80 miles to Fountain,
Yep.
60 miles to Hawthorne.
Yep.
30 to Luning,
Yep.
30 to Middlegate. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. When did they live there?
Tina lived because she was working out at Bald Mountain, and she was living in Gabbs because I can't think of it's a weird last name. It's like Venturi or something like that. But they have
Ace
they were,
Ventura?
no close though. But she has a friend from back in the day that they run cows out there. So she was living at one of their cow camps out there, but she was working at Bald Mountain at the time. And she lived there for a couple years before she left Bald Mountain.
Later on, it got pretty busy when there was a gold mine out there for It lasted about 10 years. And
Right.
literally they came in and mined out all the gold and packed up their crap and left. And I mean, it went to nothing. The town really grew then, but boy, it's back down to like 250 people now, and it's
Not pretty.
oh no, it isn't, and it's just it's heartbreaking when you go back and see where you grew up, and
Right.
there was a lot of great people, and they took good care of their houses, and I mean, nothing special, but they took good care of them, clean neighborhoods, and now, oh my gosh, it's just pitiful. Our house looks like they got more shit outside than they got inside. I think. I mean, it's really heartbreaking.
Yeah.
To see that. My mom and dad worked awfully hard to keep it that way. We did too as kids. We had to work too. We built a garage, added 2 bedrooms to it, so it was. It's kind of heartbreaking.
Yeah, I don't know how Drew feels about it, but when we grew up in the Sierra Valley, kind of the same thing. Like my parents, my dad built a huge house with his bare hands. Like he had somebody come in to do the tile and drywall and stuff, but the rest of it he built with his bare hands. And to see that valley slowly decay, in my opinion, it's heartbreaking because it's a place that we had so much fun and it was such an iconic place to us. To just see it, I mean, every time I drive through it, like, yeah, the gas station's been redone, but the rest of it just slowly decays and decays. And it's sad because we had so much fun there and it was such a good place to us.
We had a little interruption. The hammer had to drain the main vein.
Memory card was full.
And it's another 7 minutes.
Yeah. You would think a bladder that size would empty out of a hog that size way faster, but it takes some time.
It sounded like a hydrant was open back there.
Yeah, I thought the fucking contractors left your hydrant on, filled up the truck over there.
It's fine. It's just a big urethra.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that commercial where it's like, you don't have a going problem, you have a growing problem.
Anyways, to get back to it, we were talking about our towns that are like degrading over
Right,
time.
right.
And
Let's get back to it, Stick.
Yeah.
We didn't introduce you on this podcast yet. Drew Miles, the Hammer, Big Stick.
Where
He's
did you grow up at?
producer, editor. We would like some dialogue between Ray and Drew.
Yeah.
I grew up in the Sierra Valley, so
Sierra Valley's a big valley.
It is.
yeah, big valley. So it actually mainly started in Chilkoot. Parents got divorced when I was fairly young, so mom was on the other side of the valley in Sierraville. And then we went to school in Loyalton, right in the middle.
Oh, gotcha.
So I was back and forth in that valley quite a bit.
Did you know the gosh darn, I can't think of their name. The people that had the dealership up the street there, the international dealership. There was like 3 girls and what the heck was their name?
They're in Vinton, I think it was.
They're in Vinton.
In Vinton, yeah.
Yeah.
I know my dad probably knows them. It was a little bit.
I keep
before my
forgetting
time.
you're a little younger than I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to remember, I was born in '92.
Yeah.
92.
I'm young.
Oh man.
But yeah, no, even in my time, like it was, that what made that town was logging. There was a lot
Right.
of, obviously logging and, ranching and farming, but it was mainly logging. And that's what, during my parents' time, it was really booming. There was a mill in Loyalton.
Yeah.
Everything was really going. So there's a lot of people moving there, even when I was a little kid, a lot of logging trucks going through and stuff like that. And that was always one of my favorite things, is visiting the mill and seeing my grandpa driving, I thought it was the coolest thing, seeing a 988 cat loader, log loader,
Right.
And then my dad worked there for a little while. I mean, a lot of my family worked there. I mean, uncles, aunts, dad, grandpa, they all worked at the mill doing various things.
Isn't it amazing how such a big industry is just not there anymore?
Right.
Yeah,
I mean,
it completely
there was
went
a
away.
mill everywhere. I mean, Loyalton, Sierraville,
Mm-hmm.
Quincy.
a couple of mills there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, and I don't know when it exactly had died.
Is it the
because
trees or the tree huggers?
tree huggers.
Tree huggers,
huggers,
yeah.
the spotted owl.
That
Yeah.
just
I don't
makes
know.
The spotted
Yeah.
owl did it
I
all.
think a
that
lot
just
of it,
makes
yeah.
a fire problem.
And I don't know when it exactly, kind of went on the decline, because I remember when I was a kid, my dad would work night shift at the mill doing equipment, heavy equipment repair. And then during the day he was drafting houses.
Right.
So, and then all of a sudden it made that switch, and they just didn't have the mill anymore because there just wasn't enough there.
Right. And is the mill still? They started back up. Is it still going or no? Or did it shut
I don't
back
know.
down?
I think they've transferred ownership so many
Right.
different times, and they keep trying to get it going. And it's not like the full mill is running. It was
Right.
not the sawmill anyway. It was the cogen.
Yeah, they run the cogen.
I don't think they can get logs. I mean, they can't. I mean, it's just so screwed up. It's pitiful. It's okay to haul them in, I guess, from wherever the hell they haul them in from. I don't. Canada?
Well, that's when we still do a little work for SPI over in Quincy, and they have a lot of their own log trucks and stuff like that. But it's very selective where they get product from, how they bring it there, all that kind of stuff. Especially after CARB stuff went into effect in California. The guy that's running a $15,000 log truck, and he's been running it for 20 years. He's running a 1985 Peterbilt. He can't go out and buy a $200,000 log truck because there's no money in it if he pays for that $200,000 log truck. It's not going to happen.
Yep.
The problem is, this is a 2-point story. The carbon footprint, which Taylor Swift, her team's on board.
Hey, we're going in London. Don't you fucking talk shit.
Like, if you want to talk about a carbon footprint, okay, we can negotiate that. Selling carbon credits is a totally different story.
Right.
So, if a tree falls and rots in the forest, it is the exact, to the gram, carbon footprint of burning that wood for heat.
Yeah, I've never seen that study, but I don't disagree with
It's
you.
the
The
exact
different
same thing.
The way I look at it is, especially with like how advanced we are with like, I don't know, biology or whatever you call it, you can literally cut trees down, replant them, cut them down again, replant them, it's a renewable energy.
That is
Yeah.
Or for paper, toilet paper.
Yeah.
I don't care, chopsticks, whatever it is. Do Mexicans eat with wood utensils?
I don't think so.
Okay, well, whatever.
That's why they use the flour tortillas.
Because they just have flat rocks down there.
Yeah.
But, like, if the carbon footprint is the same,
Right.
if you burn it for energy or heat your house or fuel whatever, I saw a guy fuel a Toyota pickup.
I've seen that too.
With wood alcohol.
Yeah.
Or it rots in the forest. It's the
Right.
same environmental impact.
Well,
Yeah.
and
Wouldn't you
rotting
work
is
with
actually
it?
your best scenario in that, because the biggest thing that's an issue now is there's no fuel control now. So you
Right.
have all this fuel that's rotting out there, or just
Fire.
dead wood, and then there's a fire that
Yeah.
comes
Well,
through.
yeah, no, and so
then it rips through. But if they would have just logged that
Fuel
and
management.
Now you're
fuel
talking
management,
a whole nother.
then it would have been a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's why, people like to blame the environmental shit on fires. But the problem is, like, even especially when I first got started, I don't do as much logging as I used to, which I wish I did. The problem is loggers don't like to pay money because there's not a lot of money in it. So they don't like to pay a lot of money to get their shit fixed. And I get that. It's fine. But at the same time, I'm going to choose customers who can take my guy more and is going to pay more. But
Yeah.
they do selective logging where, you leave certain trees, you take the other trees, and you literally clean the entire forest. And if you do have a fire, most of the time, that we've seen it before, just in the Sierra Valley, you'll have a fire come through and it does burn the underbrush. It burns a lot of stuff, but your main trees are still standing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I'm not any kind of spokesman on logging, so I
No,
don't know. But
like,
there's definitely truth to that. Like, the fire will come through,
the
burn all
footprint's
your
the same.
underbrush, and
if you don't maintain your fuels,
right,
they're going to maintain themselves.
exactly,
So you should use the energy efficiently.
right,
Tahoe, and I'm not saying anything against the North Tahoe Fire District, but they go around and trim old shit, put on the
Right.
ground, and light on fire. Or you could go, hey, put an ad on Craigslist, Facebook, hey, free firewood. There'd be 400 guys fighting over the free
Right.
wood to heat their house.
yeah,
You're going to burn it anyway.
right,
But therein lies the problem too. Now you got the 400 guys there, and I know where you're coming from, and I agree with you.
But
You got the 400 guys there, and now they're fighting over the wood.
But
Right.
you're gonna
And
burn.
cutting
You're
their
gonna
foot
burn
off
it
with a
anyway.
chainsaw.
Or even better, use it efficiently and make it go to the cogen where they can actually make
Yeah.
good energy
And
with it.
like the
cleanly.
SPI cogen in Quincy, they have an EPA like sniffer at the top of their cogen, and if it starts emitting like a certain amount of pollutant, it'll fucking shut itself off. Like the EPA has it set up that if it starts emitting too much, pollution, it'll shut itself off. So there's a lot of things that go into that, but the thing they call it hog fuel, and it's basically chips. So like you'll take your big logs, they'll cut them down for timber, all your limbs and everything like that. They chip them.
Yeah, bark and limbs.
Yeah, they put it in this big
it's still
pile that they
wood.
push into the cogen, and the cogen heats this stuff up to a certain temperature and then burns it. And you can sit under the stack and you won't get a drop of ash on you the whole time. Like not one fucking drop of ash.
There's so many. Like we're worried about lithium mining.
Have you seen what I'm in mining. I love mining. Have you seen what a lithium mine looks like? It's a big fucking hole.
It's depressing because you just ruined. Like, I'm not an environmental scientist. I'm not a tree hugger, but I know how many species got displaced,
Right.
and they're not filling it back in.
Nope.
There's the coal mining on the East Coast.
Yep.
Because the coal mines were dangerous.
Right.
Now they're topping mountains.
Yep.
And it's big equipment, and it's efficient.
Right.
But what's left?
Well, you find me.
They're not putting it back.
Like I said, I'm huge into mining. I
But
love
you could-
mining.
you
But
could
you
plant-
find me one mine in Nevada that's ever been put back to the way it was before. It
Yeah,
doesn't
but
happen.
we're not growing trees here.
You're right.
I don't
North
disagree with
Carolina?
you.
You could
I don't
plant some
disagree with
trees.
you that they don't put it back the way it was, but boy, you can see a lot of where they put the
Like the
acid
tailings and
the
stuff.
tailing
yeah.
pond or tailings places and everything where they
and
they
leach pads.
Leach
contour
pads.
them
Yep.
off- leach pads. That's
Yep.
what I was trying to say. I mean, and if they've been there for like 10 years, the sagebrush is all growing back.
Well, they'll
And then-
reseed them. Yeah.
Yeah, and unless you know what they are,
Right.
You wouldn't know.
You wouldn't know. So they do it.
They do a
decent
decent
job.
job, but I guess my point is with like the logging stuff is they literally put the logs back.
Oh, yeah.
They reseed them.
Oh,
Whereas
absolutely.
mining, I love mining. It's one of my
You're
favorite
not
things.
going to reseed it with dinosaurs.
No, but they reseed it, and one of our one of my best customers had a job down in Yarrington. There's a mine called the Anaconda Mine, and it is a Superfund site from the EPA because it's leaching arsenic and other things into the groundwater. So one of my customers went back in, and they are rehabbing the mine. Basically, their phase is over now. They're out of there, and they're going to have another phase come up for bid this year. But that they're sloping all the tailings and everything and all the leach pads, and they're reseeding it and stuff, and they do a really good job. But it's one of those things that's, do you want this or do you want that? Like if you cut a tree down and you replant a tree, you're never going to worry about arsenic being in your water. It's not a thing. But that is something, and this mine stopped production. It was a long time ago, like 94, 95. That's when they stopped.
Maybe a little before that even.
Yeah, even before that. Maybe it might have been late 80s that they stopped production there. But that is a big problem, and people don't understand. Trees are a renewable resource. Lithium is not.
Mm-hmm.
Once you take that lithium out, and there are recycling and stuff like that, but it's not. It's like tin cans, right? I do a lot of work at the scrap yards. If you come in with a shopping cart full of tin cans, soda cans, you'll get a little bit of money for it. If you have soup cans, they won't take them because there's no energy left in that soup can. That is the bottom of the barrel of recycling. So if you come in with a shopping cart full of fucking tomato soup cans,
We should repress those into homeless shelters.
yeah, but you won't get any money for them because there's nothing left that's worth it in that can. They can't melt those cans down to any more than what they are.
So
Yeah,
the
prepping
so the economic or ecologically, then we should drink more beer and eat less soup.
Absolutely. I'm down for that.
I'm going to give you a moment to think about a good question for Stick. In the meantime, I have no problem with mining. I have no problem with logging. The problem I have is our current administration,
Right.
and no offense to Trump, but maybe 15 years of admin before them.
Right.
They're doing the opposite of what's logical.
Right. I agree. The U.S. is
Why
the
would
cleanest it's been ever, literally ever, since we've been instated as a country. We're the cleanest we've ever been. There's only so clean you can get before you run past the technology that you have. You have to go with, I completely agree that we should save the oceans. We should do all that stuff because it's amazing. Like, the ocean's amazing. All of our planet is amazing.
Makes the dirt work.
And we have to protect it. But at the same time, we are people and we have to keep going. So there's a fine line between the two, but you can't sacrifice one for the other.
Everything we're doing is not logical.
It's not.
It's like the opposite of what makes sense.
Yeah.
We're going to have like 7 big forest fires next weekend for these random burns.
Yeah.
I'm like, why
are we doing that?
Why?
Cut it down.
Just chop it up and have people will come pick it up for free.
Yeah. And not even for free. You can literally
you could charge for it.
Yeah, timber
$20, come get it.
Well, and even timber companies will go in there, cut that down, and they will make money by bringing those logs to the mill. That's how they make money. And that, they'll take that contract because they make money off the logs.
They'll bring a chipper on site.
And they do have chippers on site for the small stuff. Like, they have delimbers and things like that. They'll cut the tree down. They'll put it in a delimber. They'll delimit. That log goes to the mill, and then they'll put all those stuff through a chipper, chip it up, and now that's hog fuel. So that's going to run your power plant. And California,
why wouldn't you do that? Like, we're doing it
because it's to feel good about yourself, is all it is.
We're doing
it's the same thing with the plastic straws.
Everything's backwards.
You don't want turtles to have plastic straws in their noses, which I get. I don't want turtles to do that either. I like turtles, but at the same time, if we're the only motherfuckers not using plastic straws, it doesn't make a big difference.
But the chemicals in the paper straws are worse than the plastic.
Right. And have you ever drank out of a goddamn paper straw?
Yeah,
it's the worst fucking thing in the world.
It's like a 10-to-1 drink ratio.
Yeah. Can I get another straw, please? This one collapsed.
Oh, you're sucking air.
Yeah.
You know what's really amazing though, and I darn sure see the problem there is the plastic bags.
Agreed.
You ever just you can't go anywhere that you don't see a fence with plastic bags all over it.
Plastic bags and plastic water bottles
are
one of the two worst things.
Well,
Nothing's wrong
because it was cutting down trees.
Yeah, but paper's a renewable resource.
Yeah.
And if you put a plastic bag in a landfill, I don't know exactly how long it takes,
like
but
7 years.
It's more than that.
Oh, well, it's
like 700 years or something crazy.
It's a long time.
If you put a paper bag in a landfill,
it's like 7 minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't take long. The motherfucker's gone.
It's got enough.
Yeah,
and that's
juice
pulp.
working to.
That's pulp.
That's like chips.
Yeah. And that's literally what our ground is made out of. We do have a lot of rock and stuff, but most of the minerals and everything in the ground comes from things growing out of it, dying, and replenishing it.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, so I don't know. I have a hard time with that, especially in my industry, because I do mining, construction, logging, all these things, and you can see like a conglomeration between all of them, and they all have their purpose, but I think that we as a society, especially people who don't know what's going on, don't see the big things.
There's no common sense.
No, there's none.
It's the opposite.
Do you think at some point that they're going to go, and I can't give you a mind now that comes to mind, but and Anaconda is probably not a very good one because it's very close to Yerington there. But do you ever think that they're going to have a big mine that instead of having a landfill out here east of town 15 miles, they're just going to truck it up there, and they got
a pit.
They got a pit made.
Well, they tried that. When I lived in Winnemucca, they had a big thing that they were going to ship all of California's trash to an open pit that was open outside of Winnemucca on rail. And the people there completely fucking lost their mind. And they said, we're not going to do this. We're not going to do that. It's not going to happen. California's not sending their trash here, which I do understand to an extent what they're saying.
No, they were sending it out here.
Yeah. To Lockwood.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, well, where do you want it to go? And two, you might as well, they have their checkbook open. You tell them, this is how much I want, and they'll say, okay. If you fight them,
get a check to live there.
If you fight them in court, California's eventually going to win, right? It's the 4th largest economy in the world. They're going to win. We live in a capitalist society, which I love, but they're going to win. So they have an open checkbook right now. If you fight them long enough, they're going to win that, and they're going to put it there for free.
Yep.
So you might as well take their money while you can. Get the best school you can. Get the best like Boys and Girls Club you can. Do all that shit and still take the trash instead of fighting it tooth and nail. And they're going to do it there for free eventually.
Here's another question. This would have been a good question for Tina. Why couldn't you take the tailings at all those mines, and they're up and down Highway 80?
They're everywhere.
Why couldn't you take those tailings and make base out of them? I mean, it's mainly rock. I understand that it's got some acid run through it, but
I think this would definitely be a better question for Tina because she could probably answer a lot better than me. I would say the biggest problem you have is permitting.
but
with
it's
that-
all. I mean, it's all crushed. It's just, you just scoop it out of the
Yeah,
ground.
go.
I don't disagree with you
And
at
there's
all.
a-
I would say it's a better question for Tina, but you definitely probably could.
I mean, I
Yeah.
would think it would cut costs tremendously.
Instead of blasting rock and putting rock in a crusher.
Make another hole in the ground. Maybe. You know,
yeah.
It's already there. I see that and I go to myself.
Well,
and
you're
all
right about
that-
Anaconda because
Yeah.
that thing's got fucking 500 probably acre or no, it's probably 5,000 acres of
Yeah.
tailings that's already base.
Yeah.
Why not use it?
Yeah. And there's so much of those. There's so much overburden in that anyway that it's not. It doesn't have acid or anything. You know,
Well,
it's
all their dumps
just
have
over
none
it.
of.
Oh yeah.
Their dumps have none because they haven't
Nothing.
put anything on it.
Nope.
Yeah.
Anything.
So, did you think of a good question for Drew yet?
Yeah, we need a good question
Yes,
for Drew.
I did have one for Drew, and because I haven't heard him talk about it lately. Whatever happened to the Teslanda or
Yeah, Teslanda.
Teslanda?
One of our engineers at work at Senkatsen actually has it now. I don't know what he's actually doing with that project.
Is it
He was-
Jacob?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He adopted it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he's actually doing with it. It was kind of it was put together quickly and I don't know, bare minimum, I guess.
For the viewers, what's a Teslanda?
So I don't remember
Google
what
it.
year it is exactly, but
Google it.
early 80s Honda Accord 4-door, and then we made it look kind of like a gasser in a sense. So
Like
it's
an
got
A gasser. Yeah.
so it's got a solid front axle in it, and then we have a Tesla Model S battery pack or power plan in it, and then a Chevy Volt battery pack.
Gotcha.
So I don't remember what the actual weight was on it. I think right around 2,000 pounds. And then you got, I don't remember how much power those.
800.
Yeah, like I don't know, 700-800 horsepower from the Tesla motors on
Right.
that thing. So, and I think we had like I want to say they're around 30-inch slicks on the back of that thing. So it was kind of fun doing brake stands and stuff with it because
Right.
we had a line lock on it so you could lock the front tires and it would still shove you forward. But
Right.
if you got them lit, it just sounded like an RC car, and then there's just a tire fire behind you, of
Right.
smoke.
Did it make the 800 horsepower just instantly, or
Yeah,
did
it
it
was-
come on a little?
No, it was pretty much immediate. It was pretty.
It was a fun car.
Yeah, it was a
I only
blast
got
to
to ride
drive.
in it once, but it was a fun
I
fucking car.
never got, and I saw it at the shop one time.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want to drive it? I'll hook it up.
Yeah.
No,
Jacob doesn't care.
Well,
it's-
what was funny
oh.
is we had a shoot with I don't remember who it was. I don't know if it was Motor Trend or one of those we had a shoot with them, and the battery was pretty low on it, so I actually hooked it up to my diesel pickup, and I towed Jim around the airport, like made a big old circle with it, and we were just doing regenerative,
Right.
power generation on it. And we actually charged it with I think 2 laps, and we had almost like 70% battery in
Wow.
that thing. So then we went and did a bunch of burnouts and
Right.
launched it a bunch of times.
You took that to SEMA too, didn't you?
Yeah, we took it to SEMA. I think that's basically the last time we had it out. We took it to the drag strip once out in Fallon. Ran
Well,
a
you guys
couple
killed
passes
it at
in,
the
and then
Nugget drag strip.
We
when I
got
was
kicked
there.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Took it to the,
Well, yeah.
Well, it's funny. The whole time Jim was driving it on that. So we had to, what was it? We had a weight in that thing to keep it, get good traction. We actually took that out of like a Dodge. It was one of those, it was like a Dodge van pickup truck thing.
Oh, okay.
And those things had this massive weight in the back of those things. And we actually had that in the back of the Teslanda to give it some traction just for better balance. But yeah, nothing would beat that thing at the drag races for Hot August Nights. But that whole time he was racing it, the gas pedal was actually vice gripped to the firewall.
Perfect.
Now, folks, that's torque and horsepower.
That's
That's right. Yeah.
No, it was a good time. But yeah, Jacob is a perfectionist, to
Absolutely,
say the least. So he's just
So he had a nice pair of vice grip?
No,
Yeah, it was actually a Vice Grip brand, not
yeah.
Harbor Freight. Yeah,
No one welded on him yet.
yeah,
yeah, he's going through and making sure everything's really nice. I don't know. He's might go a totally different direction with it, but
because he has the ACDMC, right?
yeah, which is
Yeah.
the DeLorean that has he's been doing an electric conversion on that thing, and it was a Nissan Leaf
Right.
power pack in that thing. And then he did all his own batteries on it and everything, and he actually made his own inverter on it.
Right.
He did everything himself,
Yeah.
which was pretty impressive. You guys,
And
are
he
genius.
converted a YZ450 into an electric too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He fucking
Yeah.
wrecked it first day out.
Yeah.
YZ450
Dirt bike.
Yeah, dirt bike. Yeah.
But
dirt
then he
bike.
put
Yeah. And then he went big tire with it, like wide tire. But it's a sweet ride. It seems like he used it a decent amount.
I want to say that motor was supposed to make like 70 horsepower.
Yeah.
And,
And a
instant-
YZ450 makes 48.
Yeah,
on a
so
good day?
Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Wow.
But yeah, some fun projects that we've
Yeah.
had.
It's dry air, Ray. You want to fill it up?
Well, I was actually wanting to go back and
okay.
get a little more history on Ray here. So, what did you do back in when you went to the Army?
Yeah. What did you do in the Army?
And was there any correlation with that? I mean, you got out and started doing parts. Was
To
there
what
any-
I do now?
Yeah. Or was
None.
it just not?
I was a field radio mechanic.
Oh, okay.
Is what I was, and we when I got to Germany to my regular unit, it was a 8-inch howitzer outfit, self-propelled howitzer outfit, and we had there was 2 guys assigned to it, and this one guy had joined the Army so he could learn how to work on radios and intercoms and all that crap. And me, I could have cared less. All I wanted to do was put my time in and leave. So, long story short, for the better part of a year, actually, I mostly drove a truck or deuce and a half or a 3/4 ton because we were in a combat-ready outfit at the time, and if we had a radio go down, and we couldn't fix it, we had to send it to a upper echelon that was qualified to break into it and fix it.
Right.
And since we were combat ready, we had, I don't remember, so many hours to get it up there and then so many hours to get it back. So I almost went to Nuremberg, Germany a lot because they had a place up there, and there was a couple other places we went to, but I'd get in the truck in the morning and load up all the crap that had to go and take it up there and drop it off, sit in the PX for 4 or 5 hours, get in the pickup and come home and just in time for chow, and then go to bed or go do whatever you're going to do. So that really was my whole deal, and they like to do it. The people like to do it that were there, and so that was fine with me. I could have cared less about it. So, and it had nothing to do with what I ended up doing. Actually, I'll take that back. I had when I got out of the Army, I lived with my brother for a while, and he had a friend that had something to do with Reno Flying Service, I think it was. And my brother played a lot of golf, and this guy did too. And they were talking one day, and my brother told him what I did. And he says, well, yeah, send him out. Said, I could always use somebody. So I said, yeah, okay. So I go out and talk to this guy, and he starts talking radios to me, and I went, my friend, you are way over my head.
Right.
And we're talking airplanes and people's lives, and we probably better not go down this road. So that was the closest I ever come to trying to put it to use. But
I could take it to a guy though.
I can take it to a guy. Yeah, I can find a guy.
Yeah. So when you signed up for the Army, was Vietnam happening, or how did that work?
First of all, I didn't sign up.
Oh, you didn't? Okay.
Drafted.
You got drafted.
They
Okay.
sent me a letter and said,
That's what I was asking.
come
Yeah.
visit us. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and it was going. I went in 1966. I went to college right after I got out of high school and worked for about 6 or 7 months. And boy, at that time, if you weren't going to school or had something going for you, you were going to
Right.
the Army.
So
and
this was a big concern at the time.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
you betcha. Yeah. So I think I was 19, maybe something like that,
Okay.
either 19 or 20 when I went in, because I just had turned 21 when I got out, I think. So, yeah, it was a scary time for me. I didn't want any of that Vietnam if I didn't have to. Don't get me wrong. I honestly can say that if they'd have said, you got to go to Vietnam, I'd have
Right.
been there.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have gone, but I
So
wasn't going to volunteer.
What was that? I guess like personal feeling as far as you didn't. I get what you're saying, but were you trying to? When you went in, did you say, "Hey, this is what I'm good at," or how does that work? I don't even know how that works. What made you go into the? They just picked it for you.
They pick it for you. You take you pick a bunch of tests, and
Yeah.
hell, you might be a cook, or you
Right.
and there's no telling what you're going to be.
Yeah.
I have no idea how those tests work.
Because I think this is a very we don't know anything about that because we've never been in
Yeah.
that situation. So you're just
Yeah,
hoping your number doesn't
the
get drawn,
closest I
basically,
know
right?
is what stories from my grandpa, and that's about it. And I
Yeah.
know he was drafted and went in. And
Yeah.
Right.
I don't
think
have-
anyone wanted to go. It's
Yeah.
not something
No.
you choose to do.
Right.
I don't, but back to your story. Back to your question. That's really it's too bad that they don't have more jobs. That when you do get out, that you actually have something
Yeah.
that's usable. Mechanic, yeah, I can see the benefit there, but there's always limits on what they could do.
Right.
And all of the crap that they had in the Army has nothing to do with what
Has
there is
nothing, yeah.
that's on the road. I mean, that mechanic would get out and go, I don't know what that is. you
Right.
know.
And that's the problem I've dealt with a lot of like military guys that come out that try to be mechanics.
Uh-huh.
Not saying they don't have it, but when like for what I've seen, a lot of them say, hey, the military supplied me with all these tools. I used all their tools. Well, in the private sector,
Yep.
you have to have all your own tools. I will help you out with like random crazy shit, but for the most part, like you have to have your own tools. And two, troubleshooting, that's been the biggest thing that I've noticed is if there's any problem with the engine or anything like that, they don't fix it. They put a new engine in.
Yeah.
They don't fix the engine because it's a timely thing. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's easier for us to just, we have an engine, we'll swap the engine out, put the engine in, and then they can go on their way and somebody else will fix the engine. So that's been the biggest thing I've seen with the military guys.
I think a lot of them, and I don't know. We used to do a lot of business up at Hurlong. That place up there now. That's all they do is rebuild crap.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, trailers, tanks, you name it.
Yeah.
And it's all done by civilians.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know if that was going on when I was in the Army or not, but that's all that place is dedicated to. So
Right.
I mean, they don't hardly fix anything. I wouldn't think in the field.
Yeah.
So they don't have the capabilities, and there's so many of them are not in that long.
Right. Yeah.
that
You're
you
in
don't
for 2
know.
years. You're
Yeah.
not going to learn how to be an
No.
amazing mechanic in 2 years.
And the first, part of it is just Army crap or Navy crap, whatever you happen to be. But so yeah, you don't even get 2 years worth of training out
Right.
of it. Of course, now and I'm not sure, but when you join now, you probably have to join for 3, I would say, or 4, whatever.
Right.
But yeah, there were some good mechanics though. There were
Yeah.
some good ones. I was always impressed. Eric's probably heard this story before. I was always impressed. We were out in the field one time in Germany, and we were out in the field, and we had a shop that we went to. We kind of had some billets in a shop and some crap that was away from all the real field. But
Right.
at any rate, we left the shop one afternoon, probably 4:30 or so, and this unit of tanks pulled in, and there had to be 40 or 50 of them, and just in this great big grassy field, they pulled into it, and we were working on something. We went back up there after we ate, so it was probably 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. We went back up there, and about half of those tanks had motors out of them. I mean, they're running them. I mean, they got crap torn up from hell to breakfast.
Right.
And so we went back the next morning at 8 o'clock to go to work. There was not one tank sitting in that lot.
Oh shit.
They were gone.
Yeah.
I mean, it was amazing how well designed they were to work
Right.
on them in the field. I mean, and boy, it was just amazing to me how, and obviously well qualified people to do it too. But,
Right.
I mean, I to this day I'm amazed at what they did. So them poor old tankers, they lived out there in that crap 30 or 40 days at a time, and no showers, no nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
they were the grubbiest looking guys, but boy, they earned their money. They earned their money.
And in a similar sense, not the exact same, but like mining, if they have an issue with, say you have an issue with the transmission or whatever, they will just put a new transmission in it. It probably to that same effect is it's faster for us just to put a transmission in it, and then we'll send the transmission out to figure out what's wrong with it. We'll rebuild that component, and then that one will be stationary.
Right.
When we have the next transmission problem, we'll just put that transmission in, so because it's rebuilt.
Yep.
So it's probably similar to that in the fact that it's faster to just component exchange instead of fix the problem it has. And it's been great for me. I have no complaints about it because we rebuild components all the time, and we'll take stuff in and it'll come in for a transmission rebuild, and literally you'll have just a valve, because you'll have a valve on the side of the transmission for all your different gears. You're getting pressure from them, and you'll have a solenoid that's bad on that. And
Yeah.
it's just a 12 or 24 volt electric solenoid that's not sending pressure to that clutch to give you that gear, and we're getting that transmission for a complete rebuild. And you talk to them and say, hey, everything in this transmission's fine besides this solenoid probably isn't working. And they say, yeah, just rebuild it. And so you'll rebuild the entire thing complete. They'll pay you for it. There's no questions asked. It's not a big deal. And you'll put it on a stand, send it back to them, and they're just waiting for the next one. But that's the thing. You can troubleshoot a transmission for unlimited hours. I mean, if you have a problem with the transmission, you can troubleshoot it for a week. But if you exchange the transmission, it probably takes 5-6 hours.
Yeah.
And so it's a very, obviously not as high risk, but definitely a similar situation. And it's faster just to give me a new one, and we'll figure this one out later.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
I guess jumping up a few years when you went into, the parts sales and stuff, was international. Were you only doing like, heavy trucks? Was it tractors? Was it?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you said international scout. So, I mean, it was
Good question.
passenger
Good
cars.
question, because there's a lot of people don't know. International had actually 3 divisions. They had motor truck, farm equipment, and construction equipment. And when they got in financial difficulties, they sold. I think they sold the construction equipment to Dresser, if I'm
Yep,
not
they
mistaken.
sold to Dresser. Yep.
And farm equipment, part of it, they sold to Case.
Yep.
So and we were a motor truck dealer. I mean, that's all we dealt in, and we used to kind of dabble in some crap, enough to get us in trouble usually, because we knew nothing about it.
Right.
But this store here was all motor truck, and we did everything that was motor truck, from Scouts and Travelalls and pickups to the biggest trucks that they made.
Okay.
At one time, I mean, and I got IH on my shorts. I tell you what, and I get a check from them every month. But they were a heck of a good company. They come up with a lot of innovative stuff
They did.
that they could invent it. They knew what it was all about. They knew what to do, but they couldn't take it. They couldn't take it over the finish line. They were one of the if not the first company to put all the side fairings and stuff on trucks to make them more fuel efficient.
Right.
But we'd do it half-ass and didn't have anybody to promote it that knew how to do it. But you
But
probably
it
will
works.
disagree with me, but
It works.
yeah, but you could put it on a Peterbilt and people go, oh shoot, that's
Yeah,
on. Look
goddamn.
at, oh man,
Yeah.
I gotta get some of that. That's really good.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, what did we had that crap 10 years ago? I mean, and it just, you know.
Well, and I could be totally wrong, but I believe IH was the first tractor like dozer crawler to break the 500 horsepower mark too.
Could be.
Yeah, I think they were.
Yeah.
They're the first. I don't know international stuff because I'm a cat guy, but I do believe that they were the first ones to break the 500 horsepower mark on a dozer.
And I know very little about it. Very, very little. I know the DT 466, which has been
That's a great
it
engine.
saved a
Yeah.
lot of people's bacon. That engine did. It originally was used in like a TD9 or a TD6 or
Right.
not a 9. 9 was pretty big, but a TD4 or something like that. And then they put it in a scraper, and then they
Right.
put it in a farm all tractor. I mean,
Right.
all different versions of it, but
Right.
but it was the same engine. And then they finally made a truck engine out of it. And
School buses.
boy, I'll tell you,
Yeah.
fire trucks,
everything.
everything
tens
else.
Yeah.
and school buses, and we it really kind of saved us because
That was one of the first ones that had Huey injection as well, right?
Yeah. So Huey came from Cat, but the 466 had
They had
Huey
mechanical
injection.
and Huey, I think.
Yeah,
right?
and then that's where the 7.3 Power Stroke. That's where they're when International made that, that's where it came from. Was Cat was Huey injection, but the 7.3 was the first one that had like computer controlled electronic injection.
the 7.369 whatever, all of
Keep
those
coming.
motors, they saved Ford's bacon as well as International's
Absolutely.
bacon.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they got into a warranty situation, and
Yeah.
it didn't work out well for either one of them.
No, it didn't.
Who was right or who was wrong, I couldn't pretend to tell you, but
Right.
it's too bad. But yeah, when that DT 466 came out, but they started using it a lot. Boy, they hit it at the right time. There was no diesel engines, truck engines, that they were using that was very successful. They had the old 3208, which was a
It was
1160, which
it was
were all-
trash.
they were just not very good.
Had no power,
No.
no fuel efficiency.
No.
It was
Detroit had a 6V53, and
Yep.
it was. They said the only way you could drive it if you slammed your finger in the door when you were getting in, and you made you so mad you just put your foot to the floor and
Yep.
left it there. But it just came along at the right time, and
Yeah.
and I got away from all the engine stuff when I went to work for Fleet Pride, but they've redesigned it and redone it, made it more horsepower, less horsepower. They've done a whole lot with it, but I've lost contact with what it is. They've tried to do a lot of stuff with a lot of engines and
Yeah.
have not been successful with some of them, I understand. So I don't know.
Yeah, International as a whole has just had a hard problem with engines in general because I do think that they compete with like a, like you said with the Peterbilt thing.
Yeah.
I run Peterbilts. I like Peterbilts. That's my thing. International, if you want an international truck, they're way cheaper. The problem is they have the Max Force engine. It's always been an issue. It's been a problem. They have definitely, I think that they have a higher market value than like a Freightliner or something like that. But their engine, if you don't have a Cummins in it and you have a Max Force, it's worth nothing because they have had a hard time competing with that market because they have a hard time getting that reliability. At least if you buy a Freightliner, the truck may be shit, but it'll still run because it's got a Cummins in it. Or, back in the day it had a Cat in it. Cat hasn't made truck engines for a while. But the Max Force as a whole has been a rough go.
Yeah, that's what I understand.
Yeah.
And they didn't have any of that when I
Right.
left them. We always commented about that too. Peterbilt would break down or whatever and say, "What happened to your Peterbilt?" Said, "We had trouble with the engine and
It's Cat or Cummins' fault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they'd say that with an International. What happened?
Right.
Well, the engine broke. Or well, piece of shit. I wouldn't own one.
Yeah.
Well, go talk to Cat or Cummins or Detroit,
Yeah.
whoever. They just put it in the vehicle there.
Right.
But I fought that for so many years. It's just pitiful, just pitiful. But
Well, and we run into that with a lot of stuff because like Komatsu stuff, their engines are Cummins. They may be rebranded as Komatsu, but they're just Cummins engines in them. And they'll do the same thing. They'll get super pissed at Komatsu because it can't fucking figure it out, blah, blah, blah. And it's not their engine, you know. Their engine's great. It has problems, whatever. But because it's same engine, same supplier, this is where your problem is. Whereas like a Peterbilt, I have a Cat engine, or I have a Cummins, or I have a PX, which is basically a Cummins, but it's been rebranded by PACCAR. The PX13 is one of the worst engines ever made. My dad has a couple of them. I don't personally have any of them, but you have to have a certain software from Peterbilt to get into them. Like, it's a shit show, but because they have that Peterbilt name brand, which I'm a hardcore Peterbilt guy, you're like, it's okay.
That sounds great. Hey, I want to remind you guys.
Oh, yeah.
This is
Here's our gas guy.
It's a family. It's a family show.
Yeah.
So like 72 people fell asleep already.
Yeah.
So Ray,
Right.
tell me about your retirement hobbies and barbecue.
Oh, you barbecue?
I've been known to barbecue a little.
He's
I
a
have been known to
goddamn barbecue master.
Right.
Like chicks can get into that. Peterbilt, like.
Yeah, hey, there ain't no car, or what is it? There ain't no feeling like Petermobiling, bud. Yeah.
Hey, what are the three things?
Peterbilts are like Peterbilts are like home cooking and teenage girls.
What's that?
Both overrated. I cleaned it up a little. But
Give me something good. Give me some barbecue. Give me some
barbecue. Okay, I was just
cars.
my biggest claim to flame. Either way.
Yeah, either way. Bobby Souffle over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is I don't know, about 12 or 13 years ago, Jimmy, my son-in-law, that's married to Casey, he was on the podcast earlier. He come to me and he said, Ray, he said, we ought to have a rib cook-off. What do you think? And I said, sounds good to me, Jimmy. Let's have one.
Yeah.
Jimmy's really good with ideas.
Yeah.
So we ran with it after he had the idea.
Yeah.
So the first one we had, just our family cooked in it, other than Jimmy, and Jimmy's the son-in-law, so he gets to cook. So we started inviting people, and they said, well, I want to cook in it. I want to cook in it. Everybody wanted to cook in it. So we said, no, it's a black family barbecue. That's all it's going to cook in.
All families matter.
Yeah, all families. See, family show. So then we had to get judges. So we finally said, okay, we'll let people in, but you have to judge 2 times before you can cook.
So you have to judge for 2 years.
That seems fair.
Before you can
cook.
Yeah.
So long story short, we had it for 11 or 12 years, I think we had it. And between Jimmy and I, we won it
like 17 times.
several times. Yeah, I think I won it 6 times, and Jimmy won it 4. I could be wrong.
As long as you keep Jimmy in his place.
Yeah. Jimmy has it. Jimmy won it the last one we had it. Unfortunately, COVID. Well, unfortunately, he won it, and unfortunately, COVID kind of got us. We had it right at a time when we thought, maybe we better kind of follow the guidelines and not have it. And it was getting to be quite a deal. We'd have
70 people in your backyard.
Yeah, and
barbecue.
And so it got to be where it was a little tough, but that's really my claim to fame is that, and I guess I
Still
can
the
cook,
rib master.
I can cook ribs pretty good, and I don't. They all have $500-600 smokers and Green Mountain grills and all this crap, and I think I've got a 1993 charbroil that's worn out. Well, Eric's welded on it a couple times. the well, I was cooking one time at a Christmas party for him, and I was cooking ribs, and I took. I hope these guys aren't listening. I, went to take the ribs off, and the top rack falls out of it and falls on the ground out in front
shit.
of Harry's shop, and I dusted them all off.
Oh, it's pork tenderloin.
Sent them in, and
Yeah.
nobody said anything. So.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
But I still have the same grill. So.
Oh, good.
I probably never paid $49.95 for it originally. So
Yeah.
I have the minimalistic guy, I guess.
Yeah.
So it works.
Yep, that works. So, but and I like to cook though. I cook at home now, and a little bit. I not as much as my wife would like me to, obviously, probably. But
She's looking.
some
she's
things I
looking
like to cook, some
she's
things I
looking
don't.
A little
So
thin. You're gonna have to bring up your game a little bit.
my what?
Your wife's
Oh,
looking.
yeah,
a little
yeah.
thin.
Yeah. I play a little golf. I've not been physically able to play as much as I'd like to anymore. Heat gets to me, cold gets to me, but I like to play golf. And past that, I really just hang out with my kids and Eric and everybody, and used to have a sand rail. Did that for
Yeah, so I
several
was going to
years.
ask you about that. Obviously, Bart's huge into sand cars. Is that something that came from you?
No, he had a sand rail a long time ago
Okay.
When he first got out of high school. The Yellow Bird of Love. It was an old sand rail. And I don't know who started calling it that, but it was yellow.
Yeah.
And so it was called a Yellow Bird of Love. He had it, and then he moved to Las Vegas, and so he took it all apart, kept the engine, and so, well, we moved back to Reno, and then I don't know, 5 or 6 years later, and I was slowing down on my team roping, and I had a friend that had a couple of old sand rails that I really don't even know how he got them, but he had them, and I said, "You mind if I take one of them sand rails?" He said, "Yeah, go ahead, whatever." So I took one of them sand rails, and I went to Bart, and I said, "We ought to just get this thing going, take it out Sand Mountain, just
Right.
deke around a little bit." Well, that's when the roller coaster started.
Right.
It was a horrible ride, I tell you. He had this motor out of the Yellow Bird of Love that we put in there, and boy, she fired right off and everything. And I was happy for about 2 trips to Sand Mountain. Another friend of ours built a turbo motor. I mean, and I had this sand rail that we built just had a regular bug box in it.
Right.
And it
It was
would
all
barely
Vol-
make it.
It was all Volkswagen.
Yeah, it would barely make it up the hill. And he built a sand rail with a the bus box, I guess, or
Yep.
whatever, that had the lower gears in it, and had a turbo Volkswagen on it. Well, I drove it one time, and I said, "Oh crap, I got to get one of these."
Yeah. I mean, if you
So
have
now
to.
out comes that engine, and
Yeah.
I spent, I don't know, Bart built a 2110 with a turbo on it, and boy, it works good. That's a good motor. It would go good.
And then
But it was a beam front end.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I can't
Still
have a
beams
beam
on it?
front end. You got to
Yeah.
have an A-arm front end.
Yeah.
So I start searching, and I bought a car out of Las Vegas. This guy had a car down there for sale. Engine was blowed up, and so I bought it from him. And the transmission wasn't what we wanted. The motor was blown up, so we wanted to put a Subaru in it. So we bought a Subaru, and put it in. Bought a new transmission, put it in, new seats, put it in. I went through it, built a really nice car. It was powder coated already, so the outside was pretty good. Had to buy new seats. So anyway, I go and I buy this motor, and it's a Subaru. I don't know. It was a Crawford motor.
2.5,
Yeah.
Crawford motor.
Yeah, and it supposedly had a lot of horsepower to it. So we put it in. We're going to Dumont in a couple of days. And when I bought the motor, this guy, for whatever reason, him and his son were changing from Subarus to Hondas. So he said, "Hey," he said, "why don't you buy this junkyard motor I've got here for parts? Why don't you buy it and just I'll get rid of all of them?" And I said, "Well, okay." So I bought it. I think I paid $300 for it. So I tell you that story to tell you this one. So we put this motor in, and we got it running, and we're leaning over the back of the sand car, and we're looking, and and the vibration dampener's going cha-chung, cha-chung,
Oh,
cha-chung,
no.
like this. Well, the bolt wasn't tightened up and wallered out the key on the crankshaft, so we put this. So we're going to Dumont. So the only thing we can do is we just put this junkyard motor in there. So we put this junkyard motor in it and ran it about 6 years, I think, 6 or 7 years. And I don't. Well, you've seen him. My son Bart didn't have a car at the time. He drove it, and I mean, it's a wonder this thing ever stayed together. But he drove the crap out of it, and I did too. I drove it hard, and Eric drove it. And Eric finally says, "You guys got to get rid of this motor." Why should we get rid of it? I look back actually, and I say that every once in a while. Hell, it was still running good.
Yeah.
Smoked a little bit, not bad.
Mm.
So, but he built me another motor, and so we were in it for another couple of years. And I don't know. It just got to be where I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I should. So
Right.
I
Went back to barbecue.
went back to barbecuing and playing golf. That's
There you go.
that's it. But
That's
we
fine.
had a good time. I enjoyed when we had sand reels. I enjoyed just going and camping and barbecuing and
Yeah.
doing whatever we did, and we had a lot of fun. Bart vended out there, so I helped him with his vending trailer, and he was very successful out there. There was times we went out there one time over Halloween, and we went the week before, and first 2 or 3 days we stayed busy like you couldn't believe. In the middle of the week we slowed down, and then I think from about Thursday through Saturday, I don't think he drew a breath. I mean, they were just coming in
Right.
groves, fixing everything. It's quite a deal. We put motors in out there, transmissions in. Had a guy come to us and said, "Listen to Bart," and he said, "Listen to this transmission." He said, "I don't think it's right. Something's not right." So Bart went for a ride with him, come back, and he said, "Yeah, some bearings out of it." Guy says, "Well, can you put another transmission in it?" He said, "Well, I don't have one." He said, "Well, I got one in the trailer." Dang.
Perfect.
So his rail didn't have the back part of it. You couldn't take off. You had to lift. It had a LS something in it.
Right.
So you had to take it out the top. And Bart says, "Well, I don't have any way to get the engine out." I said, "Hell, I'll go to town and get a cherry picker. You can pull it out." So
Perfect.
right out there in the middle of the sand mountain, we put a motor in it. Put one in Eric's car too one time. Put two of them in. I think now we only put one motor in it. Or in what's his name? Lives in Spanish Springs.
Kurt?
No.
Wes.
Wes.
Oh, fuck.
It lasted. Put this motor in, and it
Yeah.
lasted about 12 minutes.
Yeah, two motors in Wes's car.
So yeah, it was quite a ride. We had a good time doing that, though. We really did. I enjoyed it. It was a good time of my life. When I was talking about getting on a roller coaster, I probably won't get into anything, but from now on, if I ever get into anything like that, I'm going to buy the best right from the start.
Right
Spend
from the
all the
beginning.
money I can
Yeah.
spend, I'm just going to buy it because
Yeah.
I'm going to be there sooner or later.
Yeah.
Might as well just
Might as well get
Top-
there.
just
Yeah.
do it.
We're gonna
Right
start.
from the
We're gonna
get-go.
top of the food chain
Yep, that's right.
and get a guy
Yeah.
to change the oil.
Yeah.
I mean, man.
For all
he's-
you ladies out there, I
The
think there's
two of you that
like
are listening.
2, maybe 3 girls listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
Turn your phone off. Go outside. Maybe there's other viewers. Maybe it's ladies watching their guys watching the view. turn your phone off. Go outside. There's so much to do.
This is helping that situation for sure. Yeah.
Get a toy
Get a toy.
outside the house.
Yeah.
Not power tools like no, outside the house. Side by side, golf
There you go.
cart.
A bi-side, as Drew's kids call it.
Yeah, by side. Get a by side.
yeah.
I think my favorite thing was when I went for a ride with Ray the first time.
Oh, that's right. You went
I
for-
hopped in there. I was like, what? This guy's wearing Uggs. What the?
Living room slippers.
I thought that was the best
for
thing.
for a
You're just out there
sand car ride.
cruising around in the sand rail, boots. Just, it was a great time. That was one of my. I don't know. I really enjoy that stuff. And just like you said, it's going out there and just hanging out with everyone and
Yeah.
barbecuing.
Oh,
I think
no.
those were some of the best. I think we had pulled pork tacos when we were out there, and they're
Hey, go outside.
oh my god,
Yeah.
they're
Go
amazing.
camping in the dirt.
Yep.
We used to, along your UGG deal, where we got in, everybody got into the Uggs. Of course, Casey sold them. Bart hated them, but there used to be this guy at Dumont, and I don't care what time of the year it was down there. He wore shorts and Uggs. That's all he ever wore. That's all he ever wore was shorts and Uggs. So that's where we all got it. So we started wearing shorts
Yeah, I
and
remember
Uggs too.
when I was out at Sand Mountain last time. I don't remember when we were out there, but Bart was wearing his Uggs.
Bart
yeah.
Black was in Uggs.
Oh yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my god.
Oh, he hated them until he got a pair. Casey
Yeah.
gave him a pair. Yeah, now he wears them.
I can't unsee
Just-
that. I don't think.
Just gets a little bit cold and on the Uggs. Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting. I'd forgotten that you had been out to the mountain that
Yep.
time. Yeah.
That was a good time.
You know, I have to, family related, I have to tell you, I give you a lot of props for having a side by side, and by golly, you use it, and your kids are with you all the time, and I think that's
That-
wonderful. I love
Drew's
to
the
see-
one guy who I know that actually, because I have a side by side and I don't use it. Like I do use it occasionally. Fucking the hammer is one guy who puts his kids in that thing, and they use it all the time.
and apparently they love it too, because
Yeah.
I mean, they don't, just like they don't fight it. They know what to do. They want to go, and
Yep.
if they go to sleep, if they don't.
Yeah,
If
the
they
hammer
get
has
tired.
his kids in that thing
Yeah.
all the time,
Yeah.
and they absolutely use it.
Yeah, I think that's neat.
Yeah.
They love it.
You're the one person that I know that truly uses their side by side. Yeah, because I've had mine for 3 years, 2 years, somewhere in there, and I have a quarter of the miles third the miles that Drew has on his.
Coming up around 3,000 miles.
Yeah,
on mine.
I have 962. Yeah, yeah. Like Drew uses it. He uses it for his kids and stuff. You definitely use the shit out of your side by side.
Yep. It's fun. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It gets you outside. I don't know. It's a stress reliever, and I don't know.
Absolutely, yeah.
You get to see a lot of cool places.
I agree. There's a lot of places to go.
Especially in Nevada.
Yeah.
there's an endless amount of places you can
Yeah.
go.
I to be honest with you, I've never had a 4-wheeler or side by side either one, but I going to Las Vegas drive. I always wanted to take a pickup and a trailer, and there's so many roads you go along and you go, wonder where the hell that road goes.
Yeah,
exactly.
It'd be
Yeah.
good if just jump your
Just
side by
leave,
side
yeah.
off or whatever. Up
Take
the
off.
road you go.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the nice thing is you don't have to mess up your daily. Just take that out
Yeah.
there. And
Yep.
It's amazing. I mean, they have those things built so well now. You can.
Yeah.
It's amazing the ground that you can cover, and it's not hard on you. I mean, they're built for it, so
Yeah.
you can take some rough terrain and
I watched that on YouTube. I watched that Matt's Off-Road Recovery
Yep.
a lot, and boy, they recover a lot of side by sides.
I'm sure.
But in the side besides behalf, it's amazing where they go through and
Right.
how far they've gotten before
They fuck
something
something
goes
up.
sideways. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is amazing. And of course, they went from $20,000 to 50, 60, 70, I guess, whatever you want to spend on it.
Right.
But yeah.
it is kind of scary that just any Joe Blow can go buy one though, because I mean that
You can get
mine.
yourself
I
into
mean,
some shit. Yeah.
it's pretty fast, and
Yeah.
I mean you can get yourself into trouble in a heartbeat.
Well,
And,
every time you go to Sand Mountain, it happens. I mean,
Somebody dies.
and that's the
Some-
scary thing. I don't
Yeah.
want to go out there on a big weekend just
Yeah.
because of that.
yeah, it's amazing. Somebody goes to one of the places downtown buys one on Friday and has them put paddle tires on it, and they load it up and take it up the face of Sand Mountain and launch it right over the top. I
Yep.
mean, the very first trip, and launch it over the top, and sometimes it doesn't work out too well for them.
Right.
So,
You have the KRX, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like it?
I like the chassis, suspension, driver position, features. Radio sucks. It needs more power.
But it's natural. It's NA, isn't it?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like 90 horsepower.
Right.
if it had an LS in it, you'd
Yeah.
want a bigger LS.
Yeah.
Oh no! If we started at 544, I'd be good. That'd be good. That'd be funny. But
Yeah.
the gearbox won't take it. It's fine. Desert, like
Right.
here, VC, Sarah can drive it
Right.
fast as she wants, but it's totally fine. Sand Mountain, all the way around the mountain, no issue.
Yeah.
It's fine. We have fun. You're not going to the top.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
It's not going to the top.
I run across something on YouTube the other day, and it was a deal down at Glamis, and it was a big weekend, but I could not believe the number of side-by-sides. I mean,
Yeah.
it was absolutely amazing how many there was.
It's
Just-
a huge market.
I'm going to my first Glamis trip in 2 weeks.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'm excited about it. Yeah.
It'll be fun. I've
Yeah.
always wanted to go there.
You come with us? Load you, the side by side, and that big dick up, and we'll fucking go down to Glamis, dude.
What's the occasion?
My buddy Austin goes every year Super Bowl weekend.
Oh,
Yeah, so they like park trailers up, watch Super Bowl, and then the other 4 days of there they just ride.
Debauchery.
Yeah,
I've been to Glamis, I don't know, 2 or 3 times.
I've never been.
It's a fucking drive.
It's
It
a
is a
long
drive,
ways.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm not fond of it.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not fond of. I like to dune and go around, and so many cars down in Glamis are those great big horsepower motors, and I mean, all they want to do is go up and down the front of it
yeah,
in a wheelie, or go up and in a wheelie or whatever, and it's a lot more sharper corners and valleys in there, and it's harder to dune there.
okay.
For me, it is anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe for other people, it's not. But I like to go to Dumont. Dumont's the one.
I've never been to Dumont either.
That's my favorite. I like it better than Sand Mountain. It's bigger than Sand Mountain, but it's
Yeah,
I think my favorite for sand, anyways, has always been Oregon dunes.
Yeah,
That
Oregon
is so
sand is
much
the
fun up
shit.
there.
Yeah.
I've been to them. Never duned up there, but yeah.
Oh, Oregon
That's
Sandies are
awesome.
the best.
I bet they're a lot of fun
They're
with
so
with
much
a
fun.
side by side.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm
I've
sure
never done
we've-
on a side by side. I've always been on a bike.
Yeah,
for
we've
it,
always
yeah.
gone up there on bikes and
And then
quads.
Lane had his rail up there. We did his rail for a little bit until it broke down.
Yeah.
It was a VW.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to go from beach to like forest. And,
Yeah, instantly.
yeah.
Yeah, just cruising through the trees like that. That was a good time.
That's going to be a little scary to me because I've seen some of those roads and stuff that they go in through the trees, and they're pretty darn close.
Yeah,
And-
they're tight.
and
Yeah,
you
narrow.
make a
I mean,
wrong move, and you might be eating a tree. I would
Right.
think. I
Even
don't-
some of their like competition hills, it's like you battle your way up to where it narrows, and it's like one of you guys got to choose who's going through because only one's gonna fit.
Yeah.
I want to go to Armagosa too. Austin's been out there a couple times, but I want to go out there. I think Armagosa would be a good time. That's a big dune.
It's what it's called, Big
Yeah,
Dune.
yeah, it's called Big Dune. Yeah,
I've been by it a gazillion times.
same. Yeah,
And I've never been over there. It looks interesting.
Yeah.
It's just kind of one great big dune,
right.
so named again. Really, really a sharp top on it. It looks like I don't know. It gets a lot of travel out there. I think
does,
they get
yeah.
a lot of people that go to it. But
We should go.
We should. Yeah, we should all make a group down there.
I always wanted to go to.
You can hang out at the bottom while the us players guys are
Yeah.
up top. Yeah.
I always wanted to go to Dumont and get up early in the morning, go for a ride in Dumont, load the car up, go to Big Dune, unload, ride around a little bit, load it back up. And then you got two choices. There's dunes out there by Tonopah, or there's some out by, I can't think of the name. I want to say Silver Peak.
Oh, out by
There's
Silver Peak. Yeah,
There's
is.
some dunes
Yeah.
out there. So, but probably go to the ones at Tonopah.
Yeah, Silver
Peak.
Peak. You're getting herpes out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unload there, get back in, go to Sand Mountain. You could do it in 4 dunes in one day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you could even continue up to Winnemucca if you want.
We
Yeah,
could go to
Winnemucca
you
dunes
could
are
go to
fun.
Winnemucca.
Yeah.
We've never been up there.
That's-
either.
They're a
pretty
good
fun.
time. They go. None of them are very big, but they go forever. They go almost all the way to the Idaho border.
Yeah.
Like it's 30 miles of dunes.
Yeah.
They're just none of them are big.
4-wheelers, I understand, were great.
Yeah.
Or that's what they.
I always liked riding bikes out there because you always had unlimited hits of whatever you wanted to jump. There were desert races out there were always a good time, stuff like that. But high-powered rail, it's probably not super entertaining out there.
Yeah. They're a lot of fun to have. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're and I was very lucky. I had a Bart build mine, and he did a great job, and Eric built the motor, and it was very reliable. And I did minimum amount of maintenance on mine, but boy, I had friends that they were always working on. I mean, every time you come back, they
That's
had
me.
to fix something. Constantly had to fix something, and I changed oil and did a couple of CV joints. If I couldn't talk somebody else into doing them, I hated them. And my car was very, very reliable, and it was a nice car. Sold it to a guy out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
He brought it all the way down there?
No,
Oh, I was like, God damn.
but that's where he was from. He also had a house in Florence, Oregon.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's where he was taking it. Was up
Gotcha.
there.
That makes
But,
sense.
Yeah. It was really funny when I got the phone call. I saw Fort Lauderdale, Florida come up on my phone. I went, yeah, another dadgum.
Telemarketer.
Yeah, telemarketer. And for some reason,
Oh, dang, Democrat.
No, Biden, I ain't voting for you.
I answered it for some reason. I went ahead and answered it, and he said, I need to buy it. Well, look at your sandrail. Or he said, your sandrail's still for sale? I said, sure. And he said, asked me about it, and he said, do you think I could come take a look at it? And I said, yeah. I said, are you in Fort Lauderdale? He said, yeah. He said, that's all right. I said, I'll catch a plane tonight and I'll be there tomorrow.
Oh,
I said,
shit.
Okay.
I'll see you when you get here.
He said, can you pick me up at the airport? And I said, you bet I can. So I did, and he did, and we're all happy.
Well, Eric,
Been another day of torque and horsepower
It
that we
has.
barely touched on torque and horsepower.
Hey, do you have a good description for torque, Ray?
For torque.
It's not a fist boner?
not mine. Maybe Hammers, but not mine. Yeah.
I did have
I still have to push it down to get in the toilet.
Yeah. Hammers got a goddamn. What are the jacks that you like pop up and they poop up and then you put it down
Handyman.
and poop up? Handyman, yeah. He's got a handyman in the bathroom to point that
Well,
fucker
now
down.
He's like,
that sounds.
and Tara's like, what are you doing?
What are
He's
you
like,
doing?
I
Stop
gotta,
making so much noise.
I gotta pee.
I think you guys went longer than 14 minutes this time, though.
Yeah. That's longer than me. So, on that note, thank you everybody for listening to the Torque and Horsepower podcast. We appreciate it, and we'll be back next week.
All
See
right.
you guys.
Good night.